Orale, shout outs to all the junkies, Total Trucker here, Wrestling Rehab, and we got a nice special one for you guys here today. I was off watching some wrestling a while back, man, out in San Bernardino, and there was this character that kind of stuck out to me, and I saw him perform in the ring, and I just wanted to really chop it up with them, man. So let's go ahead, let's bring him on, junkies. Let's go ahead and welcome my man. We know him, or I know him as El Vato Loco. Let's bring in my man Eric. Eric, what's going on, brother?
Not much. What's going on with you, homie?
Just right here, man. You know what? It's a weekend. Just getting ready to do a couple of things, man. How's life treating you?
It's been treating me really well right now, so handling stuff.
That's right. That's right. That's good. That's good, man. So, I'll go ahead and I'll say it, man. I went to an EWF event a while back, and I was really impressed, man, with a lot of the talent that was in there. And then I see this one dude coming out dressed, with a lowrider hat and the panel 10 dog, but just the top buttoned up, and he's coming out and orale vato, what's up, ese, and everything like that. And I'm like, well, who's this character, man? What was this character all about? And then I saw this character go in there, perform, and you tell the story when you're in the ring. I was just like, all right, cool, man. And it really stuck out to me. That happened to be you.
Mm-hmm.
El Vato Loco, man. How long have you been wrestling for?
I've been wrestling for a few years now, so I have a handful of years of experience in me.
Okay. Okay. So let's just push rewind, man, and let's see how this whole journey came to be. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up at? Growing up, did you grow up with mom and dad, siblings? Take us through your little history there.
So the history about me is I was I was born in the city of East LA, and I spent a little bit of my youth around there. I don't
Mhm.
really remember much of it, but most of my time I spent in San Gabriel Valley. So I always tell people I'm from two cities because when I was a youngster, I spent a lot of my time in the city of El Monte. And
Mm.
then once it became a young cat in high school, that's when I started spending a lot of my time, a lot of my teenage years, and a little bit of my uh, young adult years in the city of La Puente. So
Okay.
those are the two cities that I come from. And as for my family, I spend most of my time with my mom, and then I spend a little bit of time with my dad and my dad's side of the family that stayed in El Monte.
Okay. Okay. I know both of those cities pretty well, man. I used to live in Baldwin Park.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, and it's right there, man, and Monte and Puente. And
yeah.
the thing about that area right there of the San Gabriel Valley, when you're talking about El Monte and La Puente, Baldwin Park, that's got a real old school type of barrio feel to it, man.
Mhm.
The just traditional values and just a lot of old school feel to it, man. So I really appreciated that, man. That my time living there. So, and I used to go to El Monte and especially La Puente, man, and hung out.
Yeah.
So okay, so how were you introduced to wrestling? I'm talking about when you first saw wrestling, not when you got into the business, but when you first saw it. What was it? Was it when you were a little kid? Would they come later on in your life? There's some wrestlers that I hear today that it's like, I never watched wrestling. I never, and these are some of these are like in the big times, and it's like I never knew really much about wrestling. It's just when I turned 18, 19, it just came across my way, and I was like, okay. But how was it for you, man? When did you see wrestling?
Oh man, one of my earliest memories of watching wrestling was on a home video of Undertaker throwing Mankind off the Hell in a Cell. I forgot what I forgot what year it was. I can't remember specifically, but it was sometime in the early 2000s that I got experience to that video.
Uh,
And one of my cousins that I'm like really close to, we're like this. We're like almost like cousins and brothers. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying?
yes.
So I was like a little brother to him, and he would watch wrestling all the time. And because I would be kicking it with him all the time, I got introduced to wrestling. So me and him, we would watch wrestling like Monday Night Raw. He would try to get me into more to watch SmackDown,
Mhm.
and we would wrestle each other a lot. Like all the stuff
Oh,
that we would see on TV, we would do it to each other. Remember those old those promo videos where they say "Don't try this at home"? We did
yes.
exactly that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You know. See, I mean, I'm 41 years old. I'm gonna be 42 this year. So I remember watching wrestling in the 80s, and they wouldn't have that. They wouldn't say, don't try this at home. But they started doing that because everybody started trying it at home, man. And
Hmm.
I was no different. We used to wrestle all the time when I was a little kid. My sons, both of my sons, man, they wrestled all the time. All this stuff, don't try this at home, is basically just so nobody could go back and sue them. But in reality, man, I don't know any little boys, any little chavalitos that were not wrestling and pretending that they're the champion. And even in some of these no holds barred matches, man, bringing some chairs and stuff like that, man, it was good times, fun times, man. So I'm glad you were doing that stuff as well. What you brought up there, mankind being thrown off Hell in the Cell by the Undertaker, that will live, in my opinion, forever, because since then nothing has really been replicated to that. There's been some crazy stuff, but that was like the biggest shocker, because I had never ever seen anything happen like that. So when you saw that, man, I mean, was that to you like, damn, that'd be pretty cool to do something like that? Like, how was it for you?
So for me, when I first saw that, the one thing that came through my mind was this guy just got thrown off a really tall cell, and I just kept watching because I wanted to see what happened. After the toss getting tossed off the cell, I don't really remember much of it. All I remember is that, and I still see it up to this day because it's still in the commercials
Right,
today.
right.
But what really got me wanting to do it was at one point in my life, I just wasn't watching wrestling at all. I was just being a little chamaco, just doing little stuff, watching cartoons and stuff like that. But then at one point, um, I didn't have cable for a long while, so all I really did was just flip through the channels. And then one night, I just happened to run into SmackDown when it was still on my 13. This was like
Sweet.
what, 2008, between 2010.
Yeah, yeah.
So around that time, that's when I would really watch wrestling weekly on a weekly basis. Go on YouTube, watch the Raw highlights, ECW stuff like that. And around that time, that's when I decided, okay, this is what I want to do. This looks fun. This looks like something that could be really cool, and people are actually getting paid to do this. So this is what I want to do for a living.
I think, okay. See, this is the part where I want to dissect with you, man, because I think everybody that watches wrestling at one point or another felt that. I felt that myself. I was just like, that's what I want to do, but I never pursued it. I never actually went out. You wrestle and everything, and you picture yourself there at a WrestleMania or something, holding up the title. You picture yourself doing that kind of stuff, but I never actually truly pursued it. I think everybody pictures themselves doing it and says, "Oh man, that'll be cool to do it. I want to do it. Yeah, that's what I want to do." But how did you actually go about forth to say no? Well, not just say, but actually do it. What did you do? What did you seek? Did you look for a school? Did you? I mean, what was your first movidas?
I actually got a story about that.
Hmm.
So um, around that same time, I'm thinking, okay, how did they get there? How did they get to WWE? How did they get themselves to be on wrestling TV? And then I started thinking, okay, uh, what kind of training do you have to go through? Like what schools, stuff like that. Like what's all these thoughts in my head going through, and I'm thinking, how do I start? Where can I start? I had no knowledge at all. I didn't have the knowledge to even just look up wrestling schools near me. So then my cousin one day, the same one that I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
he told me about this local independent wrestling show called EWF, Empire Wrestling Federation. He told me, "Hey, there's this wrestling show in Covina, not that far, because at the time I was still living in La Puente." He's telling me it's in Covina, it's not that far where you live. Do you want to go? I said, yeah, let's go. So we went and we attended my first Empire Wrestling Federation show in 2011. And after that first show, we were hooked. We would go every month, every single time they had a show in Covina, we would go. Even one San Bernardino show we went to, I can't remember that exactly, but most of the time, our our time was spent in Covina and Knights of Columbus. And when I ended up finding out a while after attending the shows, they would start. I remember them promoting the school that they had, and that's when he started looking up the school. And then it said Jesse Hernandez School of Hard Knocks. You know the schedule that they have and the amount that they charge to start up. So I said that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So after I graduated high school, I got my first job. I saved up money, and once I had the car and the money, I went to San Bernardino. I went to Jesse, and right then and there, I told him I want to be a professional wrestler, and I signed up.
Wow, man. By the way, shout outs to Jesse Hernandez and,
Hmm.
and also my boy Richard who linked me up with them. But what was your family's thoughts, man? What when you told people like, hey, you know what? I'm thinking of becoming a wrestler. What were their thoughts, man? What did they say to you?
It was mostly my mom that I told because it was
Okay.
always my cousins, my mom, and my dad's side, a little bit of my dad's side of the family.
Mhm.
Everybody was supportive. They're like, "Yeah, go for it, do it. Like if that's something you really want to do, go for it." But the one thing that my mom always told me was that while you're pursuing that, make sure you have like something to
To
land
fall
on.
back on.
Yeah, like a good secure job is what she would want me to do. She was always supportive, but she always made sure that go to school, get an education, and make sure you have a well-paying job to like
Yeah.
support yourself.
Yeah, yeah, a safety net. Okay. Okay. What was your family into wrestling at all, or was it just you and your cousin?
It was mostly me and my cousin.
Okay. Okay, so hey man, well, you know what? You had your cousin there to what was your cousin as well saying like, hey, I want to become a wrestler as well, or was it just you?
Yeah, he actually attended a few classes when I was in high school. He actually attended a few like three classes of Jesse's, but
Mm,
he never really like continued on. Life happens. Me
right.
and him still talk to this day about him coming back, and I'm always pushing him like, yeah, go for it. It's never too late to start this and that. But it's depending on whether he has the time or he has the motivation to be able to want to go back. So there's that.
So your first day of school there with Empire Wrestling Federation, what was it? How does it go? What's the first day of school look like, man? Like when you first get in there.
How can I put it? So when I first started, and this is what we still do with new people, we have them. Well, Jesse, what he would do is he'll have the new guys run the ropes to see how they can get comfortable in the ring, just walking around, and then they start putting you like in through the basics of how to fall and how to take a hit and how to
Okay.
roll.
Okay. And immediately that okay, so that first day,
Hmm.
did you say to yourself like, "Yeah, I definitely want to do this," or did you
Oh
have a
yeah.
couple of second thoughts to be like, "I don't know, man, maybe I don't really want to do this." What was it?
As soon as I stepped in that ring, I felt comfortable. I was like, wow, this is what it's like to be inside the ring. And then
Mm.
once we started going through the training and stuff like that, I immediately knew right then and there, yep, this is the right thing for me.
Wow, man. Wow, that's cool, man. Because there's so many people. I think back of the show. Heck, what the heck was the name of that show? It slipped my mind, but they would have openings where you could come Tough Enough. Tough Enough. That's the name of the show.
Right.
Yeah, there was a show Tough Enough, and people will go, right? And they were just like, oh man, it's my dream to be a wrestler and everything. And then they would see that it's kind of brutal, man, and they would be like, nah, I don't really want to do this, man. Can you talk to us a little bit about the brutality, and is it really that tough to become a wrestler, man?
It's it takes a lot of impact out of your body. And this is not with me, but like a lot of wrestlers, after every match, we all hurt. Everything in that ring hurts. The turnbuckles, the ropes, the canvas, everything inside that ring really hurts. Everything that we do inside that ring, it hurts. So to all those people that say those kind of things, that say I want to be, this is what I want to do, and then once they get inside the ring, they start training and they have like a change of thought. I think it's something within their mind that they weren't really capable of thinking, okay, maybe all this stuff that like I'm putting my body through isn't entirely what I want, but that's just my assumption.
Yeah, I remember a wrestler once said, and it stuck in my mind. A wrestler once said, he said, "Hey man, everything that you do in that ring hurts, and you never get used to it. Your body doesn't get used to it. You just get used to doing it,
Mm-hmm.
but it still hurts. So your body doesn't get used to the the pain. You get used to being in pain, And I it made me think, and I've taken that into life, and just so many things in my life where it's like, hey, yeah, I get what he's saying. Not that I'm a wrestler or anything, but yeah, you never get used to pain or obstacles or whatever it may be. You just get used to going through them, but you never get used to it. So when he said, hey, everything in that ring hurts, no matter how long you've been doing it, you never get used to it. You just get used to doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, man. How long were you training before you had your official first match?
I was training for about 3 years only because I was very on and off.
Mhm,
So when around the time when I first started, I would be consistent, and
mhm,
then something would happen in between. Life happens where I stopped showing up for a while, and then I will get back to it. Life happens again. I stopped showing up for a while, and then I get back, and then I want to say around the third year of my training, that's when I started taking it serious. Like, no matter what happened, no matter what I was doing, no matter what happened to me, I wanted to start, you know, my, I wanted to have my first match. So
mhm.
then I started training more, then I started pushing myself more, then eventually to the point where I eventually got myself my first match at a private event is what we usually do for our students to have their first match. We usually do it private events for them to do their debut match.
Okay, so you're in Gorilla for your first match, the private match. What's going through your head, big dog?
Oh, I remember being very nervous, but it was the good nerves, the
Okay.
good nervous, where I was really excited that I'm starting what I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. Like, it's actually happening.
Mhm.
Went through the match, everything went perfectly fine, and after the first match, I said, "I love wrestling. I'm gonna keep going. I love this business. I love this sport. This is
Wow.
so much fun."
Wow, man. Okay, so after the match, you're just like, this is it, man. This is
Mhm.
what I've wanted all along. That's
Yep.
cool, man. I'm glad you get that feeling because it just seems, when I watched it on the outside looking in, and I'm just a huge fan. I've been a huge fan since I was a little kid, and I just it just looks like so much fun. It looks like a lot of pain. Don't get me wrong, man. I remember my mom would always say like, you know what? They don't feel anything. They're just faking everything. It's like, no, it's a show, but the pain's real. No, just
That's
just
me and my mom would have those kind of conversations too, but she knows the pain I go through in that ring is real. She'll be
yeah.
like, "Oh," she'll be all like, "Miko, are you winning tonight?" I'll be like, "Mom, you should support me regardless, because in the end, I'm in Vato Loco Eric Rojas. I'm gonna figure out how to win. And she'd be like, Nico, just tell me if you're gonna win. I'm like, Ma, just come out and support. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah, yeah, man. So breaking kayfabe here just a little bit, man. And if you guys are watching this and you don't want to know, hey, turn off right now. But just breaking kayfabe. How do you come up with the match with your opponent? I'm not talking about win or lose, but how do you come up with the match of like if this is what we're gonna do? I mean, how does that? How does one handle that?
Mhm. Half of the time, we feel each other out, like that chemistry.
Hmm.
Sometimes it just comes out naturally, and that's honestly the best feeling is when you and the guy that you're sharing that ring with have that chemistry, and you're just able to be able to perform and do the match without really having to do much or talk to each other.
Okay. Are there certain spots that like you guys consider major spots where it's like this is gonna be cool, man? So let's make sure we get this right.
There are a couple of things, some bigger, some small. It really depends on what the individuals in the ring consider to be a good, big, small spot or stuff like that. It
Mhm.
differentiates.
Okay. Okay. Do you guys tell each other like, hey, let's in this match, let's go out of the ring and do a couple of things, or no, let's keep it in the ring. Is there any conversations with that?
There's a lot of conversations, but most of the time they usually keep it inside that ring,
Hmm.
because the previous match might have gone outside the ring and fought each other for the fans. So they're going to want to stay inside the ring and stuff like that. So that way they don't do the same thing.
Yeah, I've heard about that, man. Where it's like, hey, you know what? You don't want to have the same match over and over and over in the same show, right? You got different wrestlers, but you don't want it all to look the same. So
Hmm.
if you look at the match before you, or the two matches before you, it's like, hey, you know what? They already did that. Yeah, we let's not do that, because then it's just gonna be repetitive. We're doing the same thing that they're doing over there. So, I mean, are you guys watching the entire show, or do you know what the matches before you or the matches after you have planned? Can a match that's coming on after you come at you and say like, "Hey guys, look, we're gonna do this outside of the ring," just letting you guys know, man. So in case you guys were thinking about doing this.
Some people are left in the dark. Some people ask. Some people don't ask. There's a lot of what ifs, or how can I put it? There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. If you get what
Mhm.
I'm saying.
Okay.
So some people would come up and ask like, "Hey, are you doing this? Are you doing that?" Some people are just so focused on their match that they don't even bother. Some people will just go and watch themselves, and some people just say, "Hey, we'll just do what we feel is going to get the crowd going."
Okay. Let's talk about the character.
All right.
El Vato Loco. Let's talk about that, man. I first saw it on a flyer. Um, EWF puts up these flyers, and I first saw it on the flyer. I'm like, Vato Loco. How did you come about with this character?
Funny enough, one of my favorite movies when I was a youngster was Blood In, Blood Out. I love that movie. I still love that movie.
Yeah,
So Vatos Locos por vida,
yeah,
sticking
yeah,
to what. Hey, I love
yeah.
that show,
It's the
man.
shirt, man.
Yeah, there you go. I actually have a banner because one of my homies gave me a bandera, right? I
Okay.
don't know what it was called exactly, but it's a picture of those three standing with the car, and the design is them, but Dia de los Muertos.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I got a t-shirt like that as well. It might be
Yeah,
the same one. Yeah.
he got me
Yeah.
something like that for my birthday. I was like, oh, this is feed me. So I
Yeah.
just been having it safekeeping because I'm gonna keep that thing clean.
Okay. All right, nice. Nice. Okay. So it was inspired by the movie.
It was inspired by the movie. It was also inspired by one of my older cousins who was like actually about that life.
Mhm.
He's from Oxnard, and you know how like Oxnard is like one of the most one of the most dangerous cities out there, but they keep it low key.
Mm,
So part of it is inspired off of my older cousin, and part of it is inspired off of how I really am.
yeah.
Because like I'm cool, I'm nice, I'm chill with everybody. As soon as somebody pushes my buttons or like really gets to like my breaking point, that's when I'm like, all right, what's up, homie? You know what I mean?
Good stuff, man. Good stuff, dog. Because when I saw you come out, you're playing the role just good and great, man. And it was I forgot what champion you were. I don't know if you still got that title or not, but I forgot you came out with the title at that time. And
Oh, you're talking about the EWF American Championship.
yes, yeah. And you came out and EWF American champion is the EWF Mexican American champion. All I'm saying.
Representing La Raza, because I do it all for La Raza.
It was good, man. It was a real fun time. I really enjoyed it. So let's talk about being in the ring first. Pushing rewind and being in the ring for a little bit. Um, has there ever been a time, man? I'm sure it happens, but to your experience, does it ever happen where it's like, hey, man, you know what? That was a little bit too far. You know, that's not that ain't cool, homie. Don't do that again. Or even during the match, where you gotta tell somebody like, hey, chillax, dog. Like I'm not cool with that. Does any of that stuff ever happen?
Luckily, none of that has happened to me yet, and God forbid it does happen,
Mhm.
because most of the time the people that I have shared that same ring with, if not every single time I shared the ring with somebody, I'll always end up having a some type of good professional relationship with them. So I've never had to deal with that, luckily.
One of the reasons I bring that up is that a few years ago, a wrestler, and it has happened. It recently, well, not too recent. It happened in Japan, but the one that comes to my mind is a female wrestler that went by the name of Sexy Star, and
Sounds familiar.
she deliberately injured her opponent because she didn't like her.
Hmm.
So she was able to put her in a submission move. I forgot the entire story. She was able to put her in a submission move, and she actually injured her on purpose, man. And from then on, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think she's been able to find work with any promotion. I don't know. Maybe she is in some very low promotion, but I mean, when I hear the big timers say like, "Hey, you're putting your basically your life, man. You're putting your body in somebody else's hands." Talk to us a little bit about that, man, because you put yourself in a vulnerable position where somebody can not I'm not even saying that they don't like you or they're gonna do it on purpose, but hey, if they do it wrong, even on accident, it can turn out pretty bad for you, man. I mean, how scary is that?
It's from what I hear is very scary, and that's why we train. We train so that way we don't hurt the individual. But some people are very careless and are in the business for themselves, as Jesse would say. And when it comes to situations like that, there could be a lot of aspects. It could be, something happened, as to where the person took a specific move, not right, not correctly, not safely. The other person got mad, and it just becomes a whole big other issue. But all in all, that's why we train, and that's why we train consistently, so that way we're safe and they're safe, and we all go home in one piece.
Yeah, one of the things that does come to mind is the Paula driver that Owen Hart landed um, on a Stone Cold, and that actually broke his neck, which led
The one
him.
that caused him to die.
No, Owen Hart passed away, I think, on an accident. But no, he gave Stone Cold a Paula driver, and Stone Cold was able to come back and wrestle, but never the same. And eventually,
Yeah,
he had to retire because of that. And that's just a scary situation, man. Like, okay, you know what? Yeah, you're gonna do this move on me, man, but I'm trusting you to get it 100% right, because if you don't, I could seriously get injured and it could cost me my career, man. That's why I'm saying
right.
it's like seems like a scary situation to be in. But I guess, like you said, man, that's why you train. That's why you train. Have you ever came across wrestlers or anything like that where you're like, you know what, these guys aren't taking it serious enough, or this guy doesn't take it too serious enough, where you're kind of like, mm, I'd rather not, share the ring with this individual. I mean, we don't have to name names. I'm just saying, man, just in general. Is there anybody that where you're like, this guy doesn't take it too serious? I'd rather not share the ring with them.
Um, Fortunately, I have not experienced that
Mm.
yet. Every individual that I have had a match with and shared that ring with, they they um they were at a certain level where they were able to be able to perform just enough so that way we both go home in one piece. And to me, that's all I care about. Is I don't care what we're doing in that ring, as long as me, you, and whoever else is inside the ring goes home in one piece. Bruises, yes, because that's gonna happen. Because goes back to what I was saying, that everything in that ring hurts, no matter what. And sometimes accidents happen. You know, One thing that I learned is that wrestling is like life. You never know what's gonna happen.
Mm.
Something can happen. Something could go wrong. You could do it right, and then something happens where you end up getting hurt. You never know what's gonna happen. But as for the injuries and stuff like that, it's just make sure to have the proper training, because you never know. You just never know.
Where does your family stand today with you where you're at today? We talked about what your family think when you first were looking to do this, but where's your family at today with you doing this?
They're all very supportive, and every single time they see me, they talk to me about how's it going, when's my next show, and then I showed them photos of me in gimmick and my matches, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you look like you're enjoying it very much," and I just keep getting a lot of support from it.
Cool, man. Cool. So what's the future hold for one El Vato Loco?
Hopefully, television.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Okay. Hey man, that would be awesome, man. Who is your inspiration? Like who did you watch growing up? Like I know we talked about your first memory was mankind being thrown off. But who did you watch? Who did you like, man?
Oh man, when I was younger, I was the biggest fan of Rey Mysterio. The
Oh, okay.
biggest. Even to this
619.
day, I love Rey Mysterio. He's like one of my favorite wrestlers, luchadors, like of all time. Can
Okay.
never go wrong with watching Ray go at it inside the ring.
Yeah, yeah, man. He's inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was
Hmm.
a good moment. I was there. I was there to see that induction, man. No, you can't go wrong with that guy. I always liked watching Rey Mysterio, and for the guy his size, I mean, my goodness, man. Back when I was a kid watching wrestling, when I was a little kid, back in the '80s, and even in the 90s for the most part, man, wrestling was more for like the big bodybuilder dudes. You had to be at least, at the very least, 6'1", and that's already kind of short for a wrestler
Hmm.
if it's circa 86 or something. And you had to had a big physique. You had to look like a bodybuilder kind of guy. And if you weren't, you were just kind of thrown off to the side, like, you're just gonna be a jobber. But now, man, now it just seems like it's open. It's open to anybody and everybody, man. If you got the skills, if you could go in there and if you could tell your story, man, by your moves and your actions in the ring, it seems, man, that you can go ahead and reach that goal, man. I mean, you're trying to make it a TV. Are you looking at that, man? Are you like saying like, hey, you know what? No excuses, man. We could go make this happen.
Yep, that's exactly what's been going through my mind lately. Is that I'm experienced enough to start branching out eventually to be on TV, and that's one thing that I'm looking to start striving for more, is to hopefully end up being on, let's say, championship wrestling from Hollywood. That's one of my big goals for this year or next year, to hopefully be on.
Okay. Okay. Hey man, you know what? I just dig your character, man. I saw you get in there. I saw you perform and everything, and I'm just like, hey, hopefully this guy can get a little bit more shine, man. But can you go ahead and tell everybody where they could follow you, where they could find you, anything, man? Social media, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I got you, man. So obviously Instagram, y'all can catch me and find me at El Vato Loco _ Eddie Rojas. You can also find me on TikTok as El Rojo 17 or 97 or 96. And on Twitter, you can find me at Vato Eddie Rojas. And of course, can't forget my home promotion, Empire Wrestling Federation. You can follow them at EWF Empire.
Yes. And depending on when anybody's watching this, they do have a show coming up in San Bernardino, California for Father's Day weekend.
June
And
17th is when it's
yes,
coming up. June 17th in San Bernardino.
yes. And this guy will be there. I'll be there, man, with my two sons for Father's Day weekend. And we're going to be having just a blast, man. Hey, Eric, brother, any last words, man, for anybody who's watching this? Either they're just a fan of wrestling, or they're looking to become wrestlers, or they're a kid just looking at wrestling like, oh man, that's what I want to do. And or just any shout outs that you want to give to fans, friends, whatever it may be, brother. The floor is yours, Carnal.
One thing I can say, if anybody is interested, anybody wants to do it, anybody wants to try it out, go for it. I highly recommend it and try it, because some people will say all their life, I want to do it. And as soon as they do it, they decided a change of heart or a change of mind. So try it out, see if you like it. And if you like it, keep going. I promise you, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. You're going to meet a lot of good people. You're going to meet great people, and you're going to hopefully, if it comes down to it, if it's meant to be, hopefully make a career out of it. So work hard and keep grinding.
That's right, man. Eric, brother, I want to thank you, man, for taking the time to come on here and chop it up with me and talk about something that's very passionate to me. Obviously, it's a passion to you because that's what you do. But, man, gracias so much. And I'll be seeing you at some of these shows as well. I plan on going to many more. Usually, growing up, I just went to like all the big shows and everything. But now I like a lot of these smaller shows too. Shouts to EWF and Jesse Hernandez and what he does over there. And shouts to you, Carnal. Thanks so much for taking this time, brother.
Thank you for having me, homie. I really appreciate it. I was really looking forward to it. So, gracias, homie. Gracias.
That is El Vato Loco. You guys go check him out, man. Shout outs to all the junkies here on Wrestling Rehab. And you guys already know how we end every video, man. Catch you guys on next one, junkies.
I'll take it home and I'll take off. And I'll open one time. I think so.